trying to beat the sun up. Grinding hard for mine to see a meal before my sun's up. All I'm saying is I'm trying to get my funds up. Gotta stay strapped, case these niggas.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining in of another episode of Run It Back, where we highlight the area's greats from yesteryear. This week, our guest, is like I tell you guys all the time, it's a history lesson. And we have one of the premier greats from back in the day, made their imprint in Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart High School, I know we don't have it no more, but Sacred Heart was a juggernaut in our city. So without further ado, this guy, he's, one of the taller guards, great rebounder, facilitator. When you listen to his story and the knowledge and the information that he has to give, it's going to give you, great insight, a better insight on the game. And it should give you some, for the younger ones, a great roadmap as to where you should go, how you should map out your future, things to help your game, things to consider and to look forward to on that next level, and even at this level. All right? So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased to be blessed with the presence of Mr. Darryl Parker from Waterbury, Connecticut. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How's everybody doing?
Oh, man, blessed, man, blessed. It's starting to warm up a little bit. We hit a little cold front for a while.
Yeah, like I said, I'm glad I'm not up in there.
Yeah, I know. I know that's right. Hey, man. So, we're just gonna start it off, man. How, number one, how was, sports for you? What attracted you or got you started in the realm of athletics?
Well, my brother played basketball. He's older than me. He's 9 years older than me, actually, but he played basketball. He played at Crosby. And just going to Slocum grammar school is like everybody balled,
Man.
So from a very young age, probably around 7 or 8, I started doing competitive basketball, organized basketball.
Got you.
So it was like basically inbred in me. Like I said, if you went to Slocum and you didn't play ball or you weren't good in ball, then
man,
you didn't belong there.
Yeah.
So from a very young age, just loved the game. Always played, always was around it. And for the kids now, I know they didn't do this, but like when it snowed, you talking about snow? When it snowed up there.
Oh man.
I live right across from the basketball.
From the basketball court, yeah, right across.
Back in the
my grandma lived on the other end.
In the OPs, as they called them, we used to get out there and shovel.
Yeah.
Be out there playing with gloves on, So that's how much we love the game.
Wow. I didn't realize your brother Rodney was 9 years older than you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I know we had previous guests on the show, Ken Sinclair and Toby Harrison, man, and they talked about those Slocum days.
Oh man, it was like star after star that just came through there.
Yeah.
So playing against them, you obviously learned, you obviously took your lumps, but you gained so much knowledge from playing against players that were so much better than you.
Right.
At that point, which a lot of kids nowadays, they don't do that. Like, we played against older people to get better.
Okay.
A lot of kids kind of shy away from that. Now they want to be the top, and you're not gonna get any better if you're playing against people that's the same as you.
Exactly, you're gonna stay
skill
right
level.
there.
Right, you're gonna stay right there. So you always want to get better. So you need to play against people that are better than you, older than you. So you learn and you become better yourself. Because if you stay at that same level, then you're gonna get passed by because the other people that you think you're better than, they working harder than you.
Exactly.
And they're gonna pass you by. So
exactly,
you got to put the work in too.
Now, I mean, when we had a previous conversation, you was telling me about the Slocum squad, you was on it as a fifth grader?
As a fifth grader. Me
Wow.
and Bruce Johnson were probably, I think, the only two that maybe ever played on the Slocum, the eighth grade team at fifth grade.
Okay.
So you figure in fifth grade, we're like, what, 10 or 11 maybe?
Yeah.
And we were playing on on the eighth grade team. So, like I said, we took our lumps and stuff, but it definitely made us better, and it actually made us more competitive
For sure. For
because
sure. Now, were you
because
now
you
at
had to
that
do little
level?
things.
Were
You had to
you
do the little
playing
things.
like the big man, or like what was your position at
No, I was a
fifth grade?
guard. I was a
You was a
guard.
you was a guard.
Yeah, I didn't grow. I had a growth spurt later on. Like when I left Slocum in eighth grade, I was only like 5'10".
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
When I
Okay.
came into high school, I was only 5'10". So I was a guard. That's what I did.
Wow. So you guys went from, I mean, because nowadays you got Wallace. I mean, Slocum is not even a elementary or middle school, but Slocum went from what, kindergarten all the way to eighth?
All the way to eighth grade. Yeah, all the way to eighth grade. We actually could have went to Wallace. Wallace was built
Oh, so
before
Wallace
we
was around then.
graduated. I think it was built when I was in seventh grade. So they
Okay.
asked us if we wanted to go to Wallace, but we said no. We wanted to stay at Slocum and graduate from Slocum.
Yeah.
So we stayed those 2 years at Slocum, and that's one of the things too about Waterbury. I think, which was kind of like a downfall, is when they
Hmm.
went to middle schools because now with so much talent at one school. It could have been somebody that could have been good,
But it was
but
so
they didn't
much
make the
talent.
team. But they didn't make the team because it was just too many people at one school that had talent. So it
Wow.
probably discouraged a lot of ball players because they're like, I'm not gonna make the team. Whereas when we had the local community schools,
Hmm.
everybody could have played at their community school and still went on to like high school and played
Right.
and stuff.
Right.
So I think that was kind of like a downfall, part of a downfall for basketball too in
Yeah.
Waterbury when they went to the middle schools because it was just so much talent. Everybody couldn't make the team, you
Everybody
know.
couldn't make the team. Now,
Yeah,
now let me ask you this. Now, was Slocum playing against schools like North End and Wallace?
we did. We played Wallace because North End wasn't built, I don't think yet. We played
Okay.
Wallace. Wallace was the first middle school. Wallace was connected to Crosby, and they had people from Driggs, everywhere, and we played them. I think they beat us by like two, maybe, but
Okay.
it was a hard fought game. But like I
Yeah.
said, they had like 4 or 5 schools combined against our school, which was
Right.
just Slocum, and they beat us. But I think it was like 2 point game.
2 point
So
game.
yeah, so that proved that we were the best because they had to combine to beat us.
Yeah. Right. 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 For sure. Now, do you think if you would have elected to go to Wallace, you think you would have transitioned to Crosby, or you already had Sacred Heart on your sights?
Sacred Heart was always because Coach Generali, who was at on the boys club, he used to coach at Sacred Heart.
Okay.
So we actually all, which probably a lot of people don't know, all of us went to Sacred Heart. Bruce Johnson, John Burris, John Reynolds, myself, Mark Redding, we all played at the boys club together. Kenny
Okay.
did too. Kenny Sinclair as well. But Kenny
Yeah.
was a year older than us. We all played at the boys club, so we all went to Sacred Heart to start. But Bruce and John Burris and John wind up leaving because they had nuns. I didn't have any nuns, and they
Wait.
said the nuns was mean, and they used to crack people on the hands if they got out of hand. So they got out of Dodge. But
Yeah.
me and Mark Redden and Kenny Sinclair stayed. But
Yeah.
so but that's how it was. So I would went to Sacred Heart. If I didn't go to Sacred Heart, I probably went to Holy Cross because obviously they wanted me to go to Holy Cross, but I decided to stay at Sacred Heart.
Oh, okay. Sacred Heart.
Yeah.
So all right, let me ask you this though. So at Slocum, do you remember some of the people that you had to play like that you had to wait your turn? That was on that team
Well,
that you had to kind of like wait your
Spencer
turn to.
Harrison was there. Um, Timmy Kendricks was there. Archie Williams was there. I'm trying to think who else was that went on and played in high school that was good. I mean, I remember going to the rec like at Slocum. Like Slocum was a community school. We used to walk home for lunch because we didn't have hot lunch. Walk back to school and then walk back after school. Walk back to the rec.
Wow, so you
At
know what? Somebody
Slocum to
said that. Yeah.
play.
So on lunch, when y'all had lunch, y'all was able to go home.
Yep, we went home. I think we had like an hour, so we had to walk home, eat lunch until I think it was when either sixth or seventh grade, we finally got hot lunch. They got the, the microwave, whatever they used to heat it. But
Yeah,
we used to
yeah.
walk home. We used to walk home
Oh
for
wow.
lunch and then come back to school. And then when we had rec after school, we did that as well. We used to walk home because school would get out and rec didn't start to like 4 or whatever. And we used to have to walk back to rec too to play. But it
Okay.
was like I said, it was battles, at Slocum.
Oh,
You
definitely,
know,
definitely.
you earned your stripes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So now, so you already got Sacred Heart on your sites from Slocum. I mean,
Yeah,
in your sites from Slocum. Now, going into Sacred Heart, who was some of the players that obviously Ken Sinclair was already there?
yeah. Greg Yates was there.
Okay,
Dwayne
Greg
Clemens,
Yates.
Bob. Everybody knows Bob from the rec. Bob was
Yep.
there.
Shout out to Bob.
Mark Yates was there. Mark Butler was there. Jesse McIntosh was there. Craig Glisson was there. So those were players that were playing that were like seniors when I was a freshman. They were like seniors.
Oh wow. So like Sacred
Um,
Heart had a nice squad even then.
oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Back then we were really good. We were really, really good then.
Mm,
When I came in, like I said, they were seniors, but they were on one of the top schools in the area as well.
definitely.
Um, and I remember I was a freshman. We played Rob Foster in them.
Ron Foster.
Yeah,
Oh
and
man.
and Greg was to me quick. And
Okay.
when I saw Rob Foster on the court, that man was like lightning because he was
Didn't
drawing
they call him
charges
like
on
Rocket
Greg.
Rob Foster?
Rocket Rod.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Rocket Rod. So yeah, he wound up going to UCLA, but that kind of like opened my eyes to see the talent that there is, especially in Connecticut, because not just Waterbury, but Connecticut doesn't get the due that it should as far as for
Yeah,
talent for basketball.
definitely.
Um, there's a load of talent in Waterbury and the surrounding areas in Connecticut that don't get the pub, which I think they should. You know.
Yes. Yes. For sure. So you guys you got these guys that coming in. So did you have any expectations of what to look forward to going into Sacred Heart?
Well, like I said, as far as the freshman crew that we brought in, if we would have stayed together, I think we would have won, state championships, a couple of them,
Yeah.
actually. If everybody that came in, even though we basically played the same position, like I said, I grew into being, 6'4", 6'4.5", but we were just that talented as far as guard play and how we played together.
Right.
Um, it was something to behold because I think I told you before when we were young, we played. It was called Junior Pro Varsity, so it was through the boys club, and we wind
Mm,
up going to 2 straight national championships.
mm.
So we played. You played in your area. You played in Connecticut. Then you had to win the region, which usually went through a team in Boston. We used to always play Roxbury,
Okay. Okay.
Massachusetts, and we were 12 or 13, and that was the first time I ever heard the word scrub. Like they were from Boston. They're like, y'all scrubs. And we were like, scrubs? What are you talking about?
What that mean?
What's that mean? And then we wind up beating them. And then I was like, who the scrubs? Who the scrubs? And then we wind up going to Lexington, Kentucky, and playing
Okay.
for the national championships. We went, like I said, 2 years in a row. That was the first time I had ever been on a plane. And we the first year, Kenny was on the team too. Kenny, Bruce, John Burris, John Reynolds, Mark Redding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think who else was on the team. Vic Weir. We wind up doing pretty well. Then the second year we actually lost in the championship to a team from Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh wow.
But come to find out, we were supposed to be like 12 to 13. They actually were older.
Really?
They used somebody else's birth certificate. They actually like were 15, 16, or 17.
Get out of here.
And they beat us in the championship. And we wind up All American though for junior pro varsity. Myself, John Burris, and Bruce Johnson, we all made All American for junior pro
Oh
back then.
really?
When we were like 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So even with that tag right there, does that at that time does that follows you through high school or whatever, or as you getting into high school, he was All American junior pro, like.
Yeah, in a way it does.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when we were there, at like I said, we played on University of Kentucky campus. We played the last game, I think it was called Alumni Hall then before they went into Rupp Arena. And they were in the tournament at that time, and they came in and they shined the spotlights on them, and they had Jack Givens, who was a good player back then, and some
Okay.
other players. I think Jack Givens was actually an All-American for Kentucky back then.
Oh
And
wow.
for us being 12 years old, seeing all this and people
Yeah.
going crazy, it was an experience for us. And Joe B. Hall was their coach, and he would he said, I'm gonna be looking for you guys and stuff like that,
Yeah.
when you get older and stuff. So in a way it did, but
Yeah.
like I said, once you play in Connecticut, you don't get the exposure that you should. I mean, in high school, not to jump ahead, but I was nominated for McDonald's All-American. I didn't make it, but I was
Oh
nominated.
man. Oh
But
okay.
I was nominated for it. But if you were playing, let's say in New York or Philly or
Yes.
DC area, they look at
Right.
those players more than they would somebody from Connecticut.
Got you. Wow. Do you even with that right there? Do you think that's why Connecticut doesn't have a huge representation of those in the NBA because of that
Sure,
fact right there?
sure, sure, sure. Um, you know, part of it too, is because it's the CIAA too, that runs high school basketball. They don't let the teams get the exposure. Um,
Okay.
when I was coaching at Sacred Heart too, we had a chance to play at Madison Square Garden, and
Got you.
the CIAA, I mean not CIAA, CIAI, whatever it is for the
Okay.
Connecticut high school basketball, they wouldn't let us go play. They said, you couldn't go away from your schedule. You had to play the 20 games. We said we would forfeit the game that we were supposed to play to go play in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
They said, no, if you go play, you're going to have to forfeit the rest of the year.
Really?
So instead of letting these kids, which some of them will never play in college, never play in a facility like Madison Square Garden
Right.
on a national stage, that just brings attention to Waterbury, attention to Connecticut for college coaches, other coaches saying, wow, there's talent in Connecticut. We need to go
Definitely.
start recruiting there. And they wouldn't let us go. Like I said, I was coaching then, but still, how could you deny kids the opportunity to play at Madison Square Garden?
Exactly.
And we got
Exactly.
an invite. It's not like we knew it before the season started. We got the invite because we were that good,
Right.
and they wouldn't let us go. So that holds you back. I'm like, you got to let these kids go experience this.
Yeah.
And it's going to draw attention to Connecticut basketball as well. But they didn't do it. So I think, like I said, Connecticut has a lot of talent, but because of various reasons, we don't get recognized. I think maybe because we're sandwiched between New York and, Boston or whatever. But,
Right.
um, and like you said, the stories, when we went to play when we were younger, wherever we went, we won. We used to go play in Philly. We used to go play
Uh.
in DC. We used to go play in New York. Everywhere we went, we won.
So y'all
Um,
playing in the trenches.
oh,
You
definitely.
guys are
Oh,
playing in the
definitely.
trenches and putting in that work.
Definitely. I mean, that's why I think our competitiveness was that, we don't get the acclaim that we deserve, so we got to show you how good we are.
Right. Exactly.
So on the
Exactly.
court, that's why people like, oh, you played against such and such, and you played against such and such. And I used to tell the kids, I said, even if I played against Mike, he would have to show me that he was better than me.
Right. Right.
He
Definitely.
would have to show me.
So
You
now,
know,
so your freshman year in high school, are you getting a lot of varsity time or?
None at all. It's funny when you said that. I started going through my scrapbook and I saw a picture when I was a freshman. I was on the varsity team, in my sweats, and we were on the bench. And that's when, like I said, Greg Yates, Dwayne, Mark
Mm,
Butler, all of them, Jesse McIntosh, all of them were on the team. But Gilmore, who was the coach at that time, he didn't believe in playing freshmen and sophomore. He only played
wow.
juniors and seniors. So we were on the team, we practiced and all that stuff. And, like I said, a lot of times we thought we were better than people that were getting some burn, but
Right.
that was his rule, that was his law. If you were a freshman or sophomore, you didn't really play. If you were a junior or senior, you played. So had to bide my time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's being like totally. You got to be totally patient because especially when you know that you could be playing now and going in as a freshman, you got to wait a whole another 2 years before you get that spot. So you basically freshman in JV your first two
Yep,
years.
freshman in JV. Yep. For my first 2 years at Sacred Heart was freshman in JV.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, I was on the varsity, like I said, my freshman year, my sophomore year, but really didn't see any ticks, you
yeah.
know. So no time, but it was good because like I said, the players that were there, they were that good too. They pushed me to get better, and
Yeah.
I think we did the same because we were the young boys, and we were trying to take their spots because
Yeah. Yeah.
even though we knew we weren't getting time, we used to show them in practice. We used to talk junk in practice.
Yeah.
I'm a freshman, I'm a sophomore, I'm killing you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you know. So I think it helped me in a way. Like you said, you got to be patient, but it helped me every day. I worked that much harder because I wanted to prove that I was better than the guy that was actually getting time.
Right. Right. Right.
You know.
So when
So
did you hit that growth spurt?
between my sophomore and my junior year, I grew. I would say from the summer of my after my freshman year to summer, from the summer of that summer to my junior year's summer. So
Okay.
basically from summer to summer, I grew like 6 inches.
Wow.
So I went from 5'10" to 6'4".
Wow. Man. And it's but the thing is too, even around that time, were there like a lot of big guards then?
No, there weren't big guards. You know,
Mm.
most guards were small. So I was blessed too because since I was a guard, in grammar school and starting high school, that when I grew, I had those skills already.
You had those skills
Like I,
already.
I, I saw when you have Marty on, Marty said he had to, work on dribbling because
Yes.
that wasn't part of his skill because he was, put down low.
Put
Whereas
right in the box.
Whereas mine, I came from being a guard to becoming, a center, forward, whatever you want to call a swingman, but I had those guard skills already. So, it was like like they called a unicorn. You
Yeah.
know, they were like, oh, he's 6'4", but he handles the ball like a guard and all that.
Right.
So
And because I was gonna say the interesting thing is like how like for a coach to not look at your size and say, oh, okay, we're gonna put him in, we can use him on the block, as opposed to saying, nah, he got other things that he can bring to us. He can cause a threat, being tall like he, big like he is, and controlling the ball. That's gonna make it even harder for the defenders to stop.
right, because that was like I said, Coach Generali. I have been playing with him since I was like 7 or 8 years old. So in my junior year, he became the head coach after Gilmore retired. So he already knew,
Okay.
because I grew up playing with him, so he already knew my skill set and stuff. So
Oh,
like teams really couldn't press us because if they tried to press us, the ball would get to me and I could just dribble the ball up,
yeah.
especially if they try to, man to man or whatever,
Right.
get the ball to me and I'll just break the press. So, like I said, I used to jump tap, but I used to bring the ball up too, especially against pressure and stuff. And, he didn't put me in the box because he knew what my skill set was. Whereas you're right, usually in Waterbury and Connecticut, if you're 6'4", 6'5", they put
Yeah.
you down in the box. So for me, it was a blessing that I guess I kind of grew, had my growth spurt later and wasn't
Yeah.
that big. So
Right.
it worked out. And the same thing with college. I played point guard in college. So people
Okay.
are like, you 6'5" and you playing point guard? Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do. That's what I do.
Wow. Okay.
You
So
know.
now, so your freshman and sophomore year, that's strictly freshman and JV. So now
Correct.
your junior year, now are you playing any like pro street leagues in the summer or?
Oh yeah, definitely. We played Pearl Street. We played Pearl Street every summer.
Okay.
And like I said, going to different camps too, Pocono camp, all New England camps, and things like that. So we knew how good we were when we went to those camps. We went to Pocono camp. It was four of us, I think, that went up there. And they wouldn't put us on the same team because they saw how good we were.
Oh man,
Um, right away, they was like, "Oh, these guys can't play together."
they had to split y'all
Um,
up.
so they had to split us up. And same thing with all New England and all those camps. 5 Star didn't go to. I forgot. I think I didn't get my application in. But Bruce Johnson and I believe Johnny Burris, they went to 5 Star. That was like the biggest
Mm,
and the best camp at that time, and that was down outside of Philly. And they
right.
did well. They did really well down there. So, like I
I
said,
remember
they just
Marty talking about 5 Star.
yeah, like that was it. Like if you went there, that was like the main camp
Mm.
for high schoolers coming out, and that's where you got most of your All Americans and stuff went there.
Oh, out of there.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so like I said, because we played against the different areas, we weren't isolated just in Waterbury. We played like for Pearl Street. We used to go to Pittsburgh. We used to go to DC. We used to go to Virginia. We
Mm.
used to go to North Carolina. I mean, Kenny Sinclair says we played against Mike before Mike was Mike,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we went down there and we stayed on University of North Carolina campus.
Mm-hmm.
We actually stayed at, it was called Parker House. Now never, because that was my name. That was the dorm. We stayed at Parker House. I was like, oh, y'all staying at my house.
Yeah.
Um, and we played, different teams from North Carolina, Virginia, and stuff. And Kenny was like, "Yo, we played against Mike. You don't remember?" I was like, "Nah, I don't remember," because he wasn't, he was a good player, but he wasn't,
He
Michael
wasn't. Yeah.
Jordan.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So, but Kenny was like, "Yeah," and then I kind of believe it because when I was playing abroad. One of my teammates was a Michael Jordan fanatic, like everything Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And he had it was called Michael Jordan Summer Basketball, and Pearl Street was one of the leagues that you could pick
Oh.
on the game. Like you could be the Sonny Baker League, you could be the Rucker League.
Yeah.
And because I used to have the shirts, because I used to give them the Pearl Street shirts when I went overseas, because I had so many.
Yeah.
And I used to tell him how good it was. And when he showed me that, that's when I was like, Kenny was right. Because why would he pick, Pearl Street Summer League,
Right.
to be one of the players, one of the teams that you could be, out of the different summer basketball leagues that they had
Yeah.
in the United States. And Pearl Street was one of the best in the United States. That was in in the New York Post and all that. So,
Wow.
yeah.
It's a shame that it's no longer here. But I mean, you got the emergence of all the AAU teams and everything now. But people need to know like how great Pearl Street was like back in the day. That was that switch to the summer sound.
That was the place to play. Like I said, there was people that used to come from California to play in Pearl Street.
Mm.
They would fly in to go into Bradley and come and play. And
Wow.
obviously people from New York. I met this dude that from New York. He's like, yo, we used to come up there and play. That was the best, league that was going around. And he was from New York.
Right.
I mean, Pearl Street was bigger than what we thought because we were from the area. Like,
Yeah.
everything. They had the DJ, they had the announcer, they had the outdoor score clock,
Mm.
outside, and then you just had people at Lakewood Park just everywhere. You
Everywhere.
get 3, 4, 5,000 people watching basketball.
Wow. Up at Lakewood.
Up at Lakewood. I mean, people, you know how Lakewood it slopes down before you go up the steps
Yep.
to
Yep.
go
Yep.
to where the lake is. There
Yeah.
was people all on there. There was bleachers, but the bleachers were full.
Wow.
People standing around. They have that retainer where that it's so the ball can't go down the hill and go into where the
Yep.
pond is.
Yep.
People was all
All
around the
around
whole
that.
park watching, Pearl Street Summer League. It was an event. It wasn't just a summer league. It was
It
an
was an
event.
event.
Everybody that was from Waterbury, they would go to Pearl Street to watch the games. And
Wow.
Wes Matthews played there. Rick
Yeah.
Mahorn played there. Darryl Dawkins came up there and played there.
Ooh.
Mike McKay, Corny Thompson, Chuck Alexinas, obviously Tony Hansen,
Yep.
and it was just players from everywhere. If you wanted to get recognized and say you played against the best, you came to Pro Street.
And they was putting on a show too.
Oh, definitely put on a show. Definitely. I remember watching West when I was young, and I mean West literally on a fast break where the dotted line is inside the free throw.
Yeah.
He actually spun, turned backwards, and leaped and tried to dunk on somebody backwards.
Ooh.
And he hit the back of the rim and bounced off. He didn't make it, but
Oh man.
he actually. So you know where people set up for charges now. They got the little charge thing. He
Yep.
actually was dribbling, turned around, faced the other basket, jumped backwards, and kind of like double pumped it backwards and tried to dunk on people. I mean, it was, like I said, it was, it was a
crazy.
spectacle. It was an event. Everybody came from Hartford, from New Haven, from Bridgeport,
Yeah.
from from New York, from California, anywhere. If you was a baller, you would come through there.
So
in the
it
summer.
was equivalent to like how Rucker Park is in New York.
Exactly. Like I said, we were ranked, I think, one of the top 5 summer leagues in the United States.
Okay.
That's including Rucker, the Sonny Baker League,
Yes.
the Urban League, I think is in DC they call. So we were ranked up there. And like I said, Nike sponsored us. I think we were one of the first summer leagues that they sponsored. So
Okay.
Nike sponsored Pearl Street for a long time.
Wow. Wow. So let's turn into like that junior season. How well was that junior season for you?
Obviously I started. I mean, Kenny was the man. Mark Redden, who was a junior with me, were the main scorers. So Kenny probably averaged 16, 17. Mark probably averaged like 14. I only averaged, I think I averaged like maybe 8 or 9 and probably about 8 or 9 rebounds a game. But like I said, I also was a distributor as well. So,
Okay.
And protected the paint too.
Yeah.
As far as block shots and stuff. So I probably averaged 8 or 9 points and probably like 8 rebounds a game my junior year. But we
Okay.
won the NVL. So and we
Okay.
won the city the NVL that year. We actually beat Holy Cross to win that my junior year.
Your junior year. You
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna come back to that. But
Yeah.
you you guys had like Crosby was a juggernaut and you had a tough game
Crosby, Cro-
with Torrington too.
Crosby was definitely good. Torrington was good. Kennedy was good. Wilby was pretty good. All the teams. It was funny because when I went away for college, and I remember reading an article in the Waterbury Republican, and they said that football had more spectators than basketball in Waterbury. And I was like, what? I said, this must be a misprint because when we played, every game was sold out.
Every game was sold out.
Everywhere we played, and a lot of people don't know that at that time at Sacred Heart, we didn't have a home gym. Our home gym was Kennedy High
Okay.
School.
Oh,
We
you
didn't
had to
have
share
our
it with
own
Kennedy.
gym. Yup, we played our home games at Kennedy,
Wow.
um, because we didn't have our own gym.
Mm.
And then they built a gym at Sacred Heart down there across from the hospital. They built that gym, Alumni Hall,
Mm-hmm.
after. But we didn't even practice at Kennedy. We practiced at East Farms, which I think is Generali
East
now.
Farms, yeah.
Yeah, we
Wow.
practiced there. And stuff. So we didn't get to practice at our own home gym, which was Kennedy. So it was like a away game every time we came in there.
Mm. Wow. Now, that junior year, you got Mark Redden, you got Ken Sinclair the senior. Um,
Bobby Tien was playing.
okay.
Jim
And you had,
Corbett was playing.
you had Antoine
Uh,
Gaither,
Ant- Antoine Gary, Stacy
Antoine Gary,
Eason,
yep.
Charlie Council. Like I
Mm.
said, God rest his soul. God rest Antoine Gary. So those are two of the players that played with me at Sacred Heart that passed.
Yeah, yeah.
So God rest their
God
souls.
rest his
But
soul,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. But
Um,
Charlie Council, Antoine, Mark, Jim Corbett, Bobby Tien, Kenny Sinclair, Stacy Easton. Those are all players that played that year.
now, overall, so what would you say was like your best game that year?
Oh man. Um, probably probably one of the games against Holy Cross because you always get up for Holy Cross. Sacred Heart and Holy Cross. That was the big rivalry. The
Mm-hmm.
only two Catholic schools in Waterbury, but that was the big rivalry. So probably
Mm-hmm.
one of those games. Like I said, I was a good shot blocker, so I know I had some shot blockers. And
Yeah.
one of my best friends, Bruce Johnson, he had the quote in the paper because like I said, my junior year we beat them and won, and then my senior year he said some. Last year we just knocked on the door. This year we're gonna knock it down. Um, he put that in the paper and he was like, I know Parker. I'll maneuver around him so he can't block my shot. I
Oh,
know all his moves and stuff.
yeah.
So probably
uh,
one of those games. I mean, like I said, our team, we played for team, so it didn't really matter. Both years, my junior and my senior year,
yeah.
who scored or whatever.
Right.
We played to win. We played to win.
Definitely.
So
And so and it looks like, just kind of like going back and looking at, looking through some of the, the games and stuff. You guys had great team chemistry too.
oh, definitely,
You guys had great
definitely.
team chemistry.
Definitely. That's like I said, we played for team. It wasn't one person, even though like obviously we had a high score, but um I didn't realize well, you talking about my junior year, but my senior year, the only person that averaged 20 points or higher, I think, at the NVL was Bernie Arline.
Mm.
Everybody else was under 20. So And
Wow.
same thing my junior year. Like I said, Kenny Sinclair, he probably averaged like 16.
Mm-hmm.
He was our leading scorer. Mark Brennan averaged 14. Bobby was doing pretty well. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have averaged like 9 points, 8 points, and like 8 rebounds at that time. But we all, we had like 4 or 5 players that were double figures or almost double figures. And the same thing my senior year. My senior year, we definitely had like 5 players that were like double figures.
Yeah,
So there wasn't one person that was carrying a whole load for the team. So you
definitely.
couldn't key on one player
Right, right, for
for our
sure.
team. You
No,
know.
do you recall any games that you would consider like one of your worst games, maybe your junior year?
Um, I think it was I don't know if that was I think it was maybe Crosby. I think I was in foul trouble, and I think I only scored like 2 points. We wind up losing,
Mm.
and I think I only had like 2 points because I was in foul trouble. So I sat on the bench most of the time. So that was probably one of those games where I said, I wish I could have been playing.
Right. How,
Um,
how you think? How did you feel about this one? That overtime loss to Torrington.
I mean,
That was one of the ones where
obviously,
that was like a thriller, and I think you fouled
yeah,
out with like a minute
obviously,
left.
a game that I think that we should have won.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't. Like you said, it was back and forth, back and forth, back and
Yeah,
forth. And I think that was one of our 3 losses. I think we lost 3 games that year or 4
yeah.
um, that year.
I think y'all ran against y'all came up against Vic Beasley and Mel Gonzalez at Caner that got y'all one time.
Trying to think if that was my
It was
junior
dubbing
year.
y'all the Sacred Heart Five.
Say that again.
The Sacred Heart Five.
That might have been. I don't know if that was my
Because I
because
think
Melvin
Ken
was.
Sinclair, I think he led that. I think that particular game, Vic Beasley had a monster game. He had like 26, and I think Ken Sinclair had like 25.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was. The score was 69-66, but that was like a thriller though.
Okay.
And,
Yeah,
and, and-
I don't remember that, but yeah, Cater Tech. I mean, everybody in the league or in Waterbury at that time, even though they played, was good. And that's why I say, even though Waterbury is not a big metropolis, 108,000 people or 110, whatever it is, we had so many different schools. Our
mm-hmm.
talent was kind of diluted because everybody went to a different school, whereas bigger cities like Hartford or New Haven, they didn't have as many schools,
Right.
and their talent was more concentrated.
Okay.
So when we used to play them, obviously it used to be a good games, but a lot of times I used to tell the people that was from Hartford or New Haven, if we had less schools in Waterbury, we would win a state championship every year because our talent would be more concentrated instead of diluted because we got so many schools
Yeah.
compared to our the number of kids that were living in Waterbury. So our talent would go. Some people go to Kennedy, some people go to Willoughby, some people would go to
Right.
Crosby, some people would go to Cantor Tech, some people would go to
Yeah.
Sacred Heart, some people would go to Willoughby. I mean, Holy Cross.
Holy
So
Cross. Yeah.
so the talent pool was spread out, whereas most times, like in New Haven, you went to
Like
Hill
two
House
schools
or
or maybe
Wilbur
three.
Cross.
Yeah.
If you were in Sacred Heart, I mean, if you were in Hartford, you went to Hartford Public or Buckley or Weaver.
Or Weaver. Yeah.
So it was more concentrated. You know.
Mm. Wow. I know one game in particular. You talked about the Crosby game, but I know Coach Generali was quoted by saying, in the paper, he was like, Parker did a great job. This is coming of age game tonight. I think you had like 11 points, 13 rebounds.
Okay.
That was a
Okay.
huge game where,
Yeah.
you,
I mean, like I said, we played to win. So whatever we had to do to win, if it was rebound, rebound. If it was score, score. If it was play defense, play defense. Our whole mindset was how we gonna win this game.
Right.
So any area on the basketball court where I could help, I would do. I wasn't looking to score a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would rather assist. I would rather make other people happy.
Right.
But if it came down to it and I had to do it, then I would do it. So yeah,
For
back
sure.
then, like I said, that was one of my better games my junior year.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah,
Now, you guys win the city, right? Your junior year?
yeah. City and MVL.
City and NVL. How do you
Yeah,
guys do in the States?
we lost, I think, in the second round
Okay.
for the states. Yeah, we lost in the second round. I think we lost to uh, Bristol Central, I think,
Okay.
in the second round. Um, so it's funny because I think both years I think we lost to a team from Bristol. I think my junior year, my senior year. I know my senior year for a fact.
Okay.
And I'll tell you a funny story about that once we get to that. My senior year.
Yes. I mean, so we're moving right on. So, how are you preparing yourself for, coming into your senior year now? Like, you're kind of like one of the go-tos now.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kenny had graduated, so Kenny was going to college. So I knew, my role as far as scoring and stuff was gonna be amplified because he was like our main scorer. So I knew, it was gonna come now. I have to not only be a distributor but score more, and obviously rebound and protect the basket and stuff. So my
Okay.
mindset was that I knew I had to, be more aggressive on the offensive end,
Mm-hmm.
this year.
Got you.
So, you know,
And how did that season pretty much, pan out for you guys?
we lost to Holy Cross, and they won the city the in the MVL that year.
Okay.
I think we were 16-4, if I'm not mistaken, for the regular season. My senior year, we lost to them. I think we lost to them 3 times because they started the playoffs, the MVL playoffs too.
Mm.
And my senior year, I think we were ranked maybe 6th in the state, and they were ranked high too, because we were in Class L
Okay.
um, all my years, even though we were a smaller school, as far as the number of kids that attended, but we were an L,
Okay.
and everybody wanted to see the Sacred Heart Holy Cross game. We actually played at Crosby,
Right.
both games, because there was everybody wanted to see it, not only in the city but all throughout Connecticut. Everybody
Yeah.
wanted to see that
That's a
game.
huge
So
game.
so Crosby was over capacity. I was just reading an article before I came on. They said it was 3,600 people in the gym
Wow.
watching the game.
Uh,
Um, So all the bleachers that go up to the walls, they were full. And then you know how Crosby has that big space between the walls of the gym to the court.
yeah.
There's
Okay.
there's probably, I don't know, maybe 15 feet or so
Yeah.
between the wall. There was like a row of like going all the way across, like six rows deep of people standing
Wow.
on
Just
both sides,
standing.
standing,
That's
standing watching
crazy.
the game. Not sitting, they were
Wow.
standing watching the
Standing.
game. That's standing for the
Standing
whole
room
game.
only.
Standing room only. That's how packed it was. And,
Wow.
and and a game that everybody wanted to see.
Everybody wanted to see.
You
Yes.
know. Yeah.
Wow. Now you guys obviously your whole years at Sacred Heart, you pretty much had winning seasons, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Um, so now with your, increased scoring load and just kind of like all the the utility things that you're still doing, are you starting to garner attention from other like from colleges and stuff like that at this point?
Sure. I was getting bites from UConn. I was really thinking about going to Fairfield, because like you said, as far as being from the Hill and being from Slocum, Spencer Harrison went to Fairfield his first 2 years.
Okay.
So Spence was there. So his freshman year, Spence played a lot. I mean, he was a freshman at Fairfield and he played a lot. His sophomore year, he didn't play that as much. He didn't play that much. And that's when they were recruiting me.
Oh.
So, he was like, oh man, they promised you this, they promised you that. And look, my freshman year, I played a lot. Now, my sophomore year, I'm not hardly playing. And he was like, they're gonna promise you this, don't really come. So then I knew what type of player Spencer was, and Spencer was dynamic. He was super. We used to call him Super John after Super John Williamson.
Yeah. Oh, really?
From the Haven. Yeah, we used to call him Soup. That was his nickname, Soup.
Yeah.
So he was Super John, because he could back you down, he could jump, he could shoot. So he was there, and then once he told me that, he's like, "You shouldn't come, man, because they're gonna promise you this and promise you that." And look at me, I played a lot my freshman year. Not playing as much or as much as I thought I should be playing this year, and so I decided not to go there. And then after, like University of Hartford, which I said was Division II, schools around the area, Armstrong State, which was down south. Southern University, which is down south. There were some other schools, that were far away from home.
Okay.
But my brother went to Norfolk State and played, and my parents, I believe, got to see him 2 or 3 times play during college because they didn't really come up this way. I think one time they played in New Haven, and then one time they might have played somewhere in New York or somewhere. So they got to see him play. So my mindset was I wanted to stay close to home where my parents, who were getting older, could see me play.
Right.
So Assumption, which is in Worcester, which is about an hour and a half from Waterbury, they were recruiting me hard. I connected with one of the players. He came to see me play a lot. He was a black guy from New Jersey, Mike Austin, who's one of my best friends today, but he came to the games. They showed me that interest. And then I went up there, I played it, pickup games. And then after I played on my pickup games, the head coach, he came and he handed me this ball, a basketball.
Okay.
And I was like, why are you handing me this ball? He said, if you come here, the team is yours. You're going to run this team. And that was before I even committed.
Wow.
So, being, a basketball player and saying to myself, I'm going to start as a freshman, in college, I was like, okay. And like I said, I connected with some of the players. The coach had been there for a while. Division II, it was a strong Division II schools. Yep. We played 3 Division I schools every year.
Okay.
So I got to, test myself against Northeastern with Reggie Lewis, Providence against Otis Thorpe and Billy Donovan and stuff like that. And Holy Cross College, which is in Worcester, we played them every year, and they had some brothers that could play there. So I knew I was going to get tested against, Division I. We play Iona too. We used to play Iona. Played against Stevie Burt and stuff like that. So I was going to get tested that way. But once he gave me that ball, my eyes just kind of got big. You want to go and play, and then once and that, like I said, that was before I committed. He just saw the way I played and how I gelled with this team, and after the pickup game, he came over and he said, listen, son, he gave me the ball. I was like, oh, well, why you giving me the ball? He said, the team is yours.
The team is yours. Wow.
Like, okay.
So how was everything? So did it pan out to be like,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because being from a program in high school that we won all the time. My freshman year at college, I think we won only 11 games. We were like 11-20.
Okay.
And I remember I was like, wow. And I went and I talked to my coach, who was Joe O'Brien, who like one of the best guys you could meet. And, he was head of the National Association of Basketball Coaches at one time. I think it was my junior year. He was the head of the National Basketball Coaches of America. I went in there and I talked to him. And I was like, I haven't lost 20 games in my whole basketball career combined. Because at Slocum, we didn't lose.
Right.
At Sacred Heart, we didn't lose.
You ain't
So
lose.
if you combine all my years of playing, I never had lost 19, 20 games in my life. I was
Wow.
like, Coach, I don't know if I could do this. But then we had 3 freshmen starting.
Okay.
No, 2 freshmen starting and 1 that played major minutes off of the bench. And the other guy that was I said I connected with from New Jersey, he was a sophomore
Okay.
at that time when I was a freshman. So we were young. So he
Gotcha.
was like, we're young. He said, this is our growing pains. He said, look at your core. We got all these guys coming back. We're gonna be so much better the following year.
Right.
So my sophomore year, because my freshman year, I think I probably averaged maybe, I would say 8 points. Probably, I was a rebounder though, still as a guard. I probably averaged like 7 or 8 rebounds and like 5 assists or 6
Okay.
assists as a freshman. Um, my sophomore year, we flipped it around. We won like 20, I think we were like 21-10.
Wow.
My sophomore year. And I was averaging like 12, 9 rebounds and like 6 or 7 assists.
Okay.
So that was my sophomore year. I was actually the co-MVP of the team my sophomore year. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if that was my sophomore year or my junior year, they named me captain too. So I was captain at a young age too, as far as being on a college team.
Wow.
But so that was the thing. But my freshman year, when we were losing those games, I was like,
Yeah, that left a
it
sour
was
taste
like
in your
a
mouth,
shock to
man.
me. It was something I had never experienced,
Right.
and
Right.
I never forget that. I went into his office. I was like, Coach, I don't know if I could stay, man. I was like, I haven't lost 20 games in my total career.
Yeah.
So that was something. That was something.
So now you go on to have a great career at Assumption.
Yeah, I did well. My junior year, I was hurt. I had orthoscopic surgery, so that year wasn't as productive as it probably would have been if I wasn't hurt.
Okay.
Because I think I averaged 8, 7, and maybe 6 as far as assists.
Okay.
But what people don't realize also is that I was one of the leading blockers, even though I was a point guard. I would block two shots a game, as a point
Yeah.
guard.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
but yeah, I had as far as college, I had a real productive years. I was the first person in the history of the school to have over 1,000 points. They say I had over 500 and everything, but I had 1,000 points. I had like 700 assists. I had like 600 or 700 rebounds, and I had like 200 blocks in my career. So I was the first person in the history of the school to have over 500 in the major categories:
Wow.
rebounding, assists, points. Like I said, I had over 1,000 points, but yeah, I had a good year, and I left the number one assist leader in the school history at that time.
The number one assist leader?
Yeah, when I left Assumption, I was the number one assist leader in the school history.
Wow.
Well, now I'm past. I'm probably like 5 or 6 now, but yeah, I had, like I said, I think I had like 690 something assists in my 4 years at Assumption.
Wow. So, so you wrap that up now. Are you thinking, you know, um, professional ball, or are you, trying to, close that chapter? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking about going to play. Originally, I had a offer to go play in Sweden
Okay.
at first, but then actually we're at Pearl Street too. We went down to New York and we played at City College in New York, like an all-star thing. So it was me, Al Frederick, went to UConn, and other players from Connecticut. We went and played in New York, and we tore it up. So me and him, and then after the game, this lady, her name was Nanny Reyes. She was bringing players to play in South America in Argentina,
Oh,
and she
wow.
approached us. This was the first year that Argentina was going to have extranjeros, which they call them, but people from outside of the country to come in and play it, especially North Americans. They used to get people from like surrounding countries, but as far as like people from America, they didn't have North Americans.
Gotcha.
So she asked us after the game if we wanted to go play there. And at that time, it was more money. So it was like 15 of us that got on a plane from New York City. It was people from DC, New York, Connecticut, Texas. So it was players from different areas that I guess she knew, so we went down there to Argentina. That was my first time overseas to go to Argentina
Wow.
and play. You know.
Now let me ask you this. Now I know a lot of people get caught up in the NBA and stuff like that, but can a player actually make a decent living going overseas, playing overseas?
Depends on where you play.
Okay.
Our main, me and Al Frederick, who went together down there, we wanted to play at that time. Spain and Italy was the one that was paying the most money. So our dream was to go there.
Okay.
But it's different nowadays than it was back then too, because there wasn't that many agents back then. I think it was a guy named Bill Glass, if I'm not mistaken. But he controlled basically the East Coast region, like New York, New Jersey, all that area. So if he wasn't your agent, you really didn't have an agent. And there was different stories about people like, agents don't do this for you. They take your money, they get a cut of your money, your salary, but they don't do too much for you. I know people that got cut from a team and didn't get a chance, to come back. They were supposed to be coming back, and the agent didn't send them money to come back, to get a plane ticket to come home. So I never had an agent.
Okay.
I never had an agent. So I think that was one of the downfalls too, because agents have connections in different countries. But that was one of the things too. But yeah, there was like if you went to Italy, Spain, you were making good money.
Okay.
France was pretty good too at that time.
France is pretty good too.
Yeah. So at that time, like my main thing was to try to go to Spain, Italy to play. That was my mindset. And went to Argentina, played there a couple years, and then got a chance to play in Brazil. And my coach in Brazil was Ari Vidal, who was the head coach of the national team for Brazil. And when we got there, he promised that if we played there 2 years, he would get us to go to play in Spain. So that was we thought was going to be our break. So me and Al Frederick went there and played in Brazil. It was a new team that played, and we did well. But then after the 2 years, he didn't produce. So I kind of got in an argument with him, and then I left the team. Al stayed there and played in different parts of Brazil, but he stayed with that team for I think another 2 years. But and then I went back to Argentina, and then I went to the Middle East. I went to the Middle East for a year and played, and I came back to Argentina. So the majority of my years I played in Argentina.
Wow. So how many years did you notch out playing overseas?
I graduated in '85. I got married in '93. And I told my wife I would play one more year. So I finished in '95, maybe '94, '95
94, 95?
was my last year. 1 year I didn't. Well, 1 year too. When I between there from '85 to '95, I think it was 1 or 2 years I didn't go. 1 year I actually taught. I taught in Bridgeport for a year.
Okay.
But then I got called from Argentina again to go back and play, so I did that. But so it probably was like 8 years and like a
Yeah.
7 years in a 9 year span, or 8 years in a 10 year span I played.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
good though. That's still a good career.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
still a
I
good
mean,
career.
I wish back then the money is like it is now, obviously, or I got to go to Spain to make more money. But
Yeah.
the experiences that I had, I wouldn't change it for the
Oh
world.
man,
To
definitely.
see the world for free,
Yes.
I wouldn't have gone to the majority of the countries that I went to.
Yeah.
And like I said, I went to the Middle East. I played in Qatar, Doha, Qatar, but I went to Dubai and played. I went, played in Chile, played in Paraguay, Uruguay, played in Brazil, played in Argentina. Where else did we go? Went to played in the Bahamas. Obviously, basketball was a tool for me. First of all, to get my education. Let me back up too. I mean, I don't want to take over the show, but at Assumption, back then, that's a private school. It cost $25,000 back then when I was in
Wow.
school.
Wow.
So I knew my parents, they couldn't afford college, being lower to middle class.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got a scholarship, basketball was a tool for me to get my education, obviously to get my degree from a real good school, because academically it was, a top tier school.
Yes.
And you figure 25,000 over 4 years is $100,000.
That's
So
$100,000. That's
to
right.
me, it was like I was making, not that was my job. I was making $25,000 a year
Yeah.
back in 1981 to '85.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of kids, and you were talking about how kids need to learn. You need to be in school and do well in school, because a lot of kids think it's just on the court, which is not. It's not just on the court. It's how well you do book wise as well. For them to recruit you, for them to look at you, and all the players that I coach, I said, you got to make sure your grades is up if you want to go to the next level, if you want to go to college.
Right. Right. Right.
Because you could be averaging 25 points on the court, but if you get in C's and D's in the classroom, they're not going to look at you, because it's just like a corporate job. If you get to that college and you flunk out, that's a wasted scholarship.
Wasted scholarship. They could have used on
Wasted
somebody else.
scholarship. And I should tell them that. I should say, so if I come to look at you and you're averaging 25, but you're getting C's and D's in class, and your partner might be averaging, let's say he averaging 15, 12, but I look at his transcripts as far as the books, and he's getting A's and B's, I'm going to say, okay, I'm a coach. What's my job? To develop players, right?
Right.
So I know I could develop this guy who's only averaging 12 or 15, and he's going to stay in my college and be able to go through the classes, and I don't have to worry about him flunking, because he got A's and B's right now in high school. He's proven that he doesn't just put the work in basketball wise, he puts the work in the classroom as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to tell a lot of these kids, and they don't understand. They're like, well, on the court, I'm the man. Okay, but in the classroom, bro, you barely passing.
And one of the things I tell kids today, I kind of drive home. It's like, yeah, I know you want to at some point, you want your skills to lead you to a professional career or professional contract. But I said, I like to tell them, I was like, that free education, that's that's going to hold you over because that's going to be life after basketball. You only going to
Nobody
play
could,
basketball for like, and I tell them like you
right,
in high school, you only got maybe like another 10 years, maybe, probably about 6 years. And you got
right,
the rest of your
and
years, the rest of your years for a career. You get that free
right.
education, that's your springboard to your career after the sports.
Exactly. I mean,
You know?
that's gonna be with you for life. Nobody can take that away from you. Basketball is gonna come a time for everybody to stop dribbling the basketball.
Yeah.
Your body's gonna break down. You can't do it anymore. Your skills get diminished because you can't jump as high. You're not as quick. Things like that. So you're
Right.
right. But if you get that piece of paper
Mm-hmm.
from a college, that's gonna last you for your lifetime. Nobody can take that away from you. That's how you're
Yeah.
gonna earn your living or whatever.
That's right.
So when I finished playing, I actually came back. My major was accounting, but
Okay.
I didn't do accounting since I was in college.
Yep.
So I always knew I wanted to like teach. And teaching at that time obviously has an advantage. You get your summers off. So I
Right.
went back to school and I went and got my master's in education.
Mm.
Um, and I got that for free through AmeriCorps.
Okay.
So I had to teach in Bridgeport for 2 years after I got my degree. They paid for me to get my master's,
Nice.
and then I had to teach in Bridgeport for 2 years. That was the payoff.
Right.
And I did that, and then I came back to Waterbury and taught in Waterbury for 21 years.
Mm.
You know,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. That's
So,
great, man.
but like I said,
Um.
basketball could be your tool if you use it right to get that, like you said, that degree. The
Yep.
main thing is that you want to get that degree
You want to get
from
that degree.
college.
Got to
You
get that
know,
degree, that piece of paper at the end.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sad to say, but the university is really using you for your talent to athletically to build the school up to do
Yep.
well athletically. So you need to use them and make sure you get your piece of paper when you come out of there.
Exactly.
So
Definitely.
you definitely need to do that. And as far as now, like the athletes getting paid, I agree and I disagree with it. Um,
Mm.
I agree that athletes should get paid because they bring in so much money, but I don't think they should be getting paid exuberant amount because I think it should be more even across the board.
Right.
Not only if you're the star player, you're getting millions and millions of dollars, but if especially like football wise, if you're on the line, you're not getting any NIL because
Yeah.
you're doing the grunt work.
You're doing the grunt work,
Right.
and they only rewarding the skill position guys.
Right, exactly. You're wide receiver or you a quarterback or whatever, you're getting paid the money.
Yeah.
But my thing, and I think I talked to you about this earlier, was I agree with athletes should be getting paid, but I think it should be more of a stipend.
Okay.
So when I was in college, there was times when I needed money for laundry or what have you. So I had to get money, call home and get money sent. Whereas if there was a stipend for athletes, not to make them rich,
Yeah.
give them $700 a month
Just
so they
enough to give
could
you some breathing room.
exactly. They could do their laundry. They could go
Yep.
out to eat every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my points to that was that people that are on academic scholarships, they get their education paid just like an athlete does. They
Right.
get their books paid for, they get their tuition paid for, they get their housing paid for. But
Right.
they can work at a university, in the library, in the cafeteria or whatever, tutoring
Mm-hmm.
or whatever they do. Whereas an athlete, it's NCAA, there's a rule you can't work if you're an athlete.
Mm.
So to me, that's biased.
Right. Right.
If I could prove that I could be an athlete and work on campus and keep my grades, why can't I do it? Why are you holding me
Exactly.
back? So that's why I
Exactly.
think there should be a stipend.
Yep. Definitely. Definitely. Well, I mean, that's definitely some huge gems that parents and kids need to hear that, and administrators too, like the ones that's giving out these lucrative uh, NIL deals to some of these kids. I don't know, not like you said, they should get paid, but it should be probably controlled a little bit
Right.
more, where you can still keep the integrity of the kid, because a lot of times these kids are making more than the coaches. And
True.
what could you tell a kid that's making more than you? You can't tell them, hey, you need to run extra laps.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, like you said, is some of the kids are making more money than what their coaches are making, and once they get the money, then you can't tell them too much because now, I mean, it's like the wild wild west. You could get in a portal and just go to a different school anyway.
Exactly.
If you don't like what's going on, you just leave and then you could play the next year. Whereas when I was playing, you had to sit out a whole year if you
A whole
transferred.
year. A whole
If
year.
you went across, like you stayed at the same level or you went up, you had to sit out a year. If you went down, like you went from Division 1 to Division 2 or Division 2 to Division 3, then I believe you could play right away. But if you
Right.
stayed at your same level or you went up, you had to sit out a whole year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So we're gonna move on to this next segment, and I call it the
Okay.
test your recall.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna throw some numbers out there just to see if you can just to test your recall to see what they where they derive from. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 10, 7, 4.
10, 7, 4. Don't know.
All right. So those. So when Sacred Heart played Holy Cross,
Okay.
you had 10 points, 7 rebounds, 4 steals.
Okay.
And that was one of the games that, they needed all that because I think Ken Sinclair had Ken and Mark was doing their thing too.
Right.
So here's another one. 208, 203, 76, 691.
208, 203.
208.
Probably maybe my stats in high school.
So, at Assumption, 208 career steals,
Okay.
203 blocks.
Yep.
You also have 76 blocks in the season,
Yep.
691 assists.
Yep.
Those your stats from Assumption.
Okay. I mean, I was a stat filler.
Yes, you
Like I said,
was. Yes, you was.
you know.
As we wrap up, man, and again, man, I thank you for sitting down and talking with me, talking with the the fans and the audience that we have, man. Is there any gems that you can tell some of the parents or some of the kids that's going down the same path that you went down?
I mean, first of all, like I said, make sure your grades is right. If you want to go to the next level, if you're in high school thinking about going to college, put that same vigor, that same effort as you do on the court into the classroom so that
Yes.
you could be successful. And also work on things that people don't really work on. Take pride, like we took pride in defense.
Yes.
A lot of kids nowadays, they only think about putting the ball through the hoop.
Right.
And also when you're not having your best game, let's say offensively it's not working, you're not shooting,
Mm-hmm.
still be competitive and play all areas. Do not hold your head down because coaches look at body language too.
Yes.
How you react when things aren't going your way.
Yes.
But if you show that, okay, my shot's not falling today, but I'm still gonna play defense. I'm still gonna rebound. I'm still gonna give out assists. I'm still gonna play my butt off as
Mm-hmm.
hard as I can, even though I'm not having a good offensive game. Coaches, especially college coaches, take note of that.
You ways and you can still impact the game.
Exactly. Ways to impact the game without scoring. Because when you
Yes.
go to college, everybody was the best player on their team.
That's right.
Everybody put the ball in the hole.
That's right.
So you got to show that you could do something else to make sure that you have a spot on that team in college,
That's right.
you know. And a lot of players don't think about that, you know, especially body language too.
Yeah.
Uh, if they say that you got a bad body language or you know, you don't get along with your fellow teammates, they're not gonna want
Mm.
you because they're gonna say, first of all, he's not coachable. If things don't go his way, he starts pouting.
Yep.
You know, he gets an attitude. So
Mm.
right then and there, they're not
That,
gonna want you.
that's right.
So don't portray that on the floor. Just play hard and work on your craft, but do things like I said, work on things that maybe you don't normally do. Like Marty said, if he wasn't a good ball handler, he worked on his ball handling skills.
That's right.
Because once again, being a Waterbury, you get pigeonholed to playing certain positions. I was
Mm-hmm.
lucky. You know, if you're 6'3", 6'4", you're not gonna be a center in college.
No.
You
No.
know, there's no way. So you got to be able to do other things, and that's what you know. You on your own, you got to work. You know,
Yeah.
I used to dribble the ball down to the store, dribble the ball back with my opposite hand
Mm.
down to the store. You know, down to the Sinclair store, down to
Yep. Jimmy's.
Chacho's, down to Chacho's on the way to
Chachos.
school. You know, and do things like that. So you know, work on your game, but once again, education, you got to make sure your grades is tight in the classroom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's no better way to end it on that. I had one thing I had to ask you.
Okay.
And speaking of nicknames, uh, my uncle told me to ask you this, man. How'd you get the name P Funk?
That actually was from my brother. Um, my brother went over as an iota, which is part of the nine, as they call them, the sororities.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, it's like the youngest sorority. I think it started in 1963, but it's one of the younger fraternities, excuse me. And they called him P Funk.
Okay.
I like Parliament Funkadelics. Grew up with Parliament Funkadelics
Yeah.
too, so it kind of got passed down to me. They used to call me, you know, P Funk Junior, and it
Yeah.
just stuck. You know, P Funk. When I went to, you know, my coach and Ed Generali, who's my high school coach, that's what he calls me that now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he calls me P Funk. So it just stuck. But it actually came from my brother. That's what his fraternity line, his name was P Funk.
Oh, okay.
So it stuck with me. And like I
Nice.
said, I like Parliament Funkadelics too back in the day. That
That's
was, you
right.
know, that was the band. So, you know, that's all
Yeah.
they call me. People that really know me and stuff, they just say, yo, P Funk.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. See, there you
you
have
know.
it, P Funk. Well, listen, man. I thank you for sitting down, chopping it up with us, man. And again, it's like I tell everybody, it's a history lesson. Things that you don't know, or that you might be curious about, or things that can just help you along the way, just to show. And you gave us, some great insight and direction on, telling these kids, you stay in the school, body language on the court, body language with your coaching staff, your teammates, and even with the defense, the people that you're playing against, the opposition, if they can read you, they can better guard you, you know?
Yeah. If they know you're gonna get mad at something, they're gonna do it to get under your skin to throw you off your game.
That's right.
You know,
That's
so you
right.
you can't show that they're getting under your skin. But I just want to tell the kids that make sure that they stay true to themselves and make sure that they don't get discouraged. If, like I said, my first 2 years I didn't really play varsity because that was his rule. But
Right.
don't get discouraged. Keep on working, keep on trying your best, and eventually you're gonna get that time, and then that's your time to shine.
That's your time to shine. Make the most of the moment when it comes.
Exactly. When you get that opportunity, make sure. Like I said, when I got an opportunity to start, I knew I wasn't going to relinquish it. And the same thing when I went to college, when the college coach said, "This is going to be your team." I was a freshman. There was
Yeah.
seniors and juniors and sophomores mad. You know, a couple players tried to hurt me because
Yeah.
they wanted to get my position.
Right.
A freshman starting, but I didn't let that dissuade me. I, played hard and
Yep.
kept on doing what I knew I had to do.
Definitely. Definitely, man. Well, again, man, I thank you. I appreciate you. And, thanks for joining in with Run It Back.
I mean, I appreciate you and hopefully wish you continued success and hopefully other players that you get on there give some nuggets and stuff to the young kids because sometimes the young kids only see the offensive end of the court, which they shouldn't.
Right.
They only think about offense, and that's not the total game.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Before we sign out, like, how can people reach you or see you? Some of the stuff you're doing. Are you on social media?
I have no social media. When I was a teacher, I just didn't get on it, so I never have.
Okay. All
You
right.
know, the best thing is probably the email. Darryl Parker 963 at gmail.com. But down here, I was coaching at high school, but I stopped because my daughter is playing college volleyball now.
Okay.
Um, but I want to say one other thing too. I
Mm-hmm.
know there's Hoops for Life, which I was part of when I was up there too. They have programs in the summer and leagues
Yes,
for
Miss
the
Deneen. Shout out to Deneen.
Mr.
Deneen
Shout out to
Fries.
Deneen.
She got to come back up here. That's yes. We got something locked in. So
Yeah, because she just opened up a little hub, I think,
yes,
downtown. So,
she's
for
doing great
kids.
things in the city.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure, kids have a place to go because we always had basketball and
Right.
stuff. And let me say one other thing too. As far
Yep.
as when I was a kid, we used to walk to the rec from the hill, walk to the boys club from the hill,
Yep.
just to play ball. We used to
Just to
walk
play.
miles and miles to play ball.
Wasn't no
ride our
rides.
bikes, ride our bikes to Waterville Park, to Lakewood,
Yep.
down to the square, Orange Street Park. We fiended on basketball, and wherever we had to go, we would do either walk or ride our bikes or whatever.
Yes.
So if you love it, you'll do that.
You would do
You
that.
know,
You do that.
yeah.
All right, man. I don't want to hold you too much longer, man. Again, man. I'll be chopping it up with you too. Once this
Okay.
airs out, I'm gonna definitely, chop it out. And also, when we get off, I gotta get your mailing address so I can, send you something in the mail.
Okay, I appreciate it. Like I said, continued success, man. I was thankful and feel greatly appreciated to be on the show. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you and what you're doing. And like I said, hopefully it'll help some of these younger kids that's playing now. Hopefully it'll help them to do better and get to where they want to go.
For sure, man. All right, man. You take care, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Peace.
Peace.
All right. Thank you, sir.